Welcome to this special edition of System News Service. This week we begin a very special series of programs. For the first time, an outside media organisation is being allowed into the richest and most mysterious place in our solar system, Coalition Space. Many of you will have heard stories about this heavily controlled region that surrounds Jupiter, about the breakthrough technology that allows energy to be extracted from Jupiter's atmosphere, about the punishing system of coalition debt that shackles its nearly 2 billion citizens. You might even have heard about the secret war that is being waged on behalf of an alien race many believe don't exist. Well, this week, SNS has been given special permission to travel into Coalition Space, where we will hopefully break the veil of mystery that surrounds Jupiter once and for all. First up, we speak with Professor Waxler, one of the pioneering minds that worked on the technology that allows so many to live in such a hostile environment. Good evening, Professor Waxler, and thank you for agreeing to speak with us.
It's my pleasure to enlighten you and your audience, Sandira.
Professor, before we chat about the technology itself, can you explain the impact that it has had on Coalition Space?
Well, Sandira, in a few short words, the colonisation of Jupiter would not have been possible without it.
And why is that?
Because of the sheer size of our energy needs. It's easy to underestimate just how much a single human being needs to survive. In the past, this has not been much of a problem because our species evolved on a planet awash with usable energy. Light, heat, food, and water were all either directly or indirectly supplied by the Earth's proximity to the Sun. But at Jupiter, the Sun's intensity is 27 times lower than it is on Earth.
So what does that mean for human survival?
To survive we must synthesise or grow our own food, extract water from the crusts of icy moons, and at the same time expend vast amounts of energy simply to keep ourselves safe from harmful radiation and the general physiological rigours of living in space. Everything here requires more energy, and yet we get far less from our most traditional source of power, the Sun.
And how is it then that Coalition Space is now home to nearly 2 billion people?
Jupiter's weather and coalition technology, Sandira.
Can you tell us a bit about this specific technology that supplies so much energy? I presume we're talking about energy sumps here, right?
Yeah, that's right. Energy sumps make use of the virtually inexhaustible supply of hydrogen and helium that make up Jupiter's atmosphere.
And how exactly do they do that?
Well, without going into specifics, we're essentially releasing the latent energy of the hydrogen atom. After harvesting the required fuel from Jupiter's upper atmosphere, energy sumps manufacture a shrunken form of hydrogen called a hydrino via catalytic thermal processes in plasma. Because hydrinos exist at a lower quantum energy state than hydrogen, this transition releases more energy than any known chemical reaction.
Fascinating. Does this process create more energy than nuclear fission?
No, not quite. But given the abundance of hydrogen in Jupiter's atmosphere, we can sustain this conversion process indefinitely. The energy output of even one energy sump is many orders of magnitude greater than the largest nuclear facilities on Earth.
Wow, that's impressive. So how is this energy transported to the colonies that require it?
Well, that is a far more sensitive technology, Sandira, and one which I'm unfortunately not authorised to discuss. I can, however, tell you that the transfer is virtually instantaneous.
Are you saying the energy is teleported directly to the colonies?
In a sense, yes, but as I mentioned, I'm afraid I cannot elaborate.
Then let's move on to the energy sumps themselves. I've heard that entering Jupiter's atmosphere is incredibly dangerous, and that many of the early missions fell victim to treacherous weather systems. How is it that a ship the size of a small city can now survive in such an environment?
Our meteorological understanding has come a long way since those early days of exploration. We simply use a series of algorithms to predict the weather and avoid the dangerous areas.
But doesn't it take more than that? I've heard that despite the complexity involved, there is one person responsible for piloting the energy sumps safely through the atmosphere.
I think you may be referring to the Helmscan.
Yes, the Helmscan. Who are the Helmscan, and how is it that they're able to control such a massive ship within Jupiter's atmosphere when so many others have failed?
Sandira, the Helmscan are gifted pilots, and I'm afraid that's all I'm authorised to say.
So you're saying the Helmscan are augmented with technology that you can't discuss?
No, I'm not saying that at all.
But the practice of physical augmentation is common in Coalition space, isn't it? Some people even choose to replace their limbs or even their entire bodies with robotic components. Are the Helmscan simply the next generation of cybernetic enhancements?
Nice try, Sandira. But with all due respect, I'm not going to reveal any Coalition secrets on your program.
Really? Is that because you're afraid of what the Coalition might do to you?
No, Sandira. It's merely because that's outside of my area of expertise. I'm afraid I have to end the interview there. I'm a very busy man.
Yes, I'm sure you are. Perhaps others can answer those questions. Well, there you have it. Professor Waxler, Coalition scientist, sharing his unique insights into the fascinating technology which extracts energy from Jupiter's atmosphere. I'm Sandira Santuri, and I'll see you next time on SNS, the service that brings the interviews to you.